Hi. Today, I'm so excited to share with you how I got my article published and shared by Arianna Huffington and what it has done for my business. So, we're talking today about the simple strategies and the self-belief required to be ready for such an opportunity and how you can take the lessons that I have learned and apply them to your own business and get your own article to go viral and get shared around the world and blow up your email list and your Facebook group and make tons of new connections, including one with an influencer that you really admire. So let's talk about what happened, first of all. So if you're watching this live, this has been one of the biggest weeks ever for Life with Passion because I had an article that I wrote shared by Arianna Huffington on her Facebook page, which has almost 1.5 million followers, and her Twitter feed, which has 2.5 million followers. And so, as you can imagine, that really started to, that really got me a lot of attention, right? In addition to people sharing it organically before, during, and after she shared. This is the sort of the biggest organic share that I got. And so I want to break down for you exactly how that happened. So I love to write. And so one of the things that I have been doing is writing on a platform called medium.com, which also has it is the platform that Arianna's magazine Thrive Global uses. And so I had decided that I was going to pitch to this magazine because publicity has been one of the things that has been really important to me, and a goal in my business over the last several months has been to get more visible, to use organic publicity to grow my business and learn how to do that really, really well. And so I have honed my pitch. I have a great pitch. I have been featured on over 20 podcasts now in the last several months, and have also gotten accepted to the Huffington Post, which Arianna has sold, and also to Thrive Global using this pitch. So I got that done, and I started writing for her magazine. And I've been repurposing my content. I create a lot of content for my community. And so I've been repurposing my content left and right in order to not have to just be, pushing myself to create things over and over and over all the time. And so what happened was I got consistent, and I began playing with different topics that I know my ideal clients want to read about. And I know that I'm going into a lot of detail here, but I think it will be helpful for you. So I got consistent about posting stuff I'd already created that I knew my ideal clients would want to potentially read about. And when I did that, I published an article about procrastination, which is something that my ideal clients really, really struggle with. Really, really struggle with, and need a lot of support with, and I just hear all the time, procrastination and perfectionism. So I published an article about perfectionism, and I noticed that people really liked it. It became my biggest article on Thrive and on Medium. And so I thought, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to publish some more articles on procrastination. This seems to be a trend. This seems to be hitting a nerve. So I kept doing that, and basically I just kept going, right? So I think I have a total of 3 articles right now published on Medium about procrastination, and they're kind of ho-humming along, right? And then I noticed that one of them in particular started getting a lot of views, and I had called it, "Your Perfectionism is Killing Your Dream," because that was the name of a blog post I had written on my site. And that was the name of some other content I'd shared in my community. And so I felt that was hard hitting, and I put it out there. And what happened was the editors at Thrive decided to change the title. And that's their prerogative. They could do whatever they want. They changed it to Why Procrastination is Such a Problem for Highly Capable People and How to Tackle It. Why procrastination is such a problem for highly capable people and how to tackle it. They changed it and they published it on their site. Now, then the article with their title started getting all of this traction on its own, started getting all of these views, started getting all these shares on Facebook. I noticed that something was happening with this article, like organically on its own. There's no ad spend here, right? And I had pre-validated all of this content in my community. I knew that it had hit a nerve. I had a live stream that I had done about procrastination too, called How and Why Your Procrastination is Self-Sabotage. And I had included that in the article. And so all of these pieces came together because I had prepared and I knew what my audience wanted to hear. And it started getting shared on Facebook and it started getting shared on LinkedIn. And the editors at Thrive noticed that it began trending and they decided to put it on their page, on their Facebook page. It got a lot of traction there. And then Arianna and her team decided to put it on her stuff. Now, the results of this for me were that I have gotten, at last count, like nearly 200 subscribers to my email list as a result of this one article. Highly targeted subscribers. I have also gotten over 100 new members in my Facebook group, and this number is going up every day as a result of this article going around the web. I also have exchanged personal emails with Arianna Huffington, who is an influencer I have a deep desire to connect with, and here's why. So I learned in Arianna's book, Thrive, which I highly recommend if you haven't read it, that her first baby was stillborn, just like my first baby, Maeve. And so when I read that, or I actually was listening to it, and it was not that long after Maeve had passed away, the book had been recommended to me. I bought it on audio and on Audible, downloaded it, walking around the grocery store doing personal development while I'm grocery shopping. And I got to that section in the book while I was in the grocery store, and I almost had to lean up against a wall in the grocery store, lean up against a shelf, I guess, for support, because I thought, oh my gosh, if she could go on to thrive, so can I. And that's such a big part of my mission and my journey, is to help others to know that no matter what you've been through, you can survive and thrive. And so I felt a deep connection to her in that moment, and I was grateful that she had shared that, and I was grateful for the examples she set of going on to be successful, defining success on her own terms, and creating space for a lot of other people to do that. So when I read that, I decided I definitely want to be published in the Huffington Post. That's important to me. So I made that happen in August, and it was shortly before she sold Huffington Post, left, and started at Thrive. And so we had exchanged emails then, but I now had this opportunity to personally thank her for sharing my article and to tell her why it was important to me, and to receive a response from her iPhone, which I was so excited to make that connection. And now I have the opportunity to deepen and grow that relationship that's really important to me, and to provide her with value. So here are the things that I did. Now that I've told you sort of what's come out of this as of a week out, and I expect more, so I'm happy to do a part 2 for you. But now that I've broken down all the things that I have that have come out of this so far, I want to share with you the steps that I took within that to make this happen. I told you, yes, I was writing. Yes, I was, writing about something that people seemed to want to hear about. But what else did I do to bring this about? Both with simple strategy and self-belief because I believe, and this is what I work with my clients on, both are required to be ready for such an opportunity as this, to capitalize on it and to add even more value to everybody who's affected and touched by it. So first of all, I had a strong intention for something like this to happen. It's so crazy. I'm getting chills thinking about it. So I have a list of affirmations that are in the back of my journal. A journal with pigs flying on it. I have a list of affirmations that are in the back of it. And one of them, about halfway down, says, influencers love sharing my content. Influencers love sharing my content. That's important to me. I have this vision of, like, you know, people I really admire, people I consider famous, people who have a huge audience sharing my work. And so that's an affirmation that I repeat. Influencers love sharing my content. So from a mindset piece, I had this intention that this is a goal of mine, right? And I started aligning my actions with that goal and getting ready to capitalize on it. This is something that I work with my clients on a lot. So you have an intention. I created an affirmation around it, right? Because one of my intentions is to be even more publicly visible than I am now, to speak on big stages, to, you know, travel the world, to be on national TV, all of these things that are intentions of mine. So I had this intention, and I decided I was going to be ready for the opportunity. And so what I did, I mentioned to you already that I only write pieces that I know are in line with my ideal clients, and I only write pieces that I've already written and I'm repurposing. So I'm not constantly generating, you know, having to generate new content. So I built on this desire for an intention for publicity that I had and for influencers to share my content. When I created this article, I included a 2-sentence sort of opt-in at the end that was very aligned with what I was talking about. So it wasn't just throwing a bunch of random stuff together, right? So I wrote this article, Why Procrastination is Such a Problem for Highly Capable People and How to Tackle It. And at the end, it says, if you'd like support with overcoming procrastination, then grab Christine's free workbook, The Top 5 Things to Do to Get Your First or Next Client. So I'm identifying right there, it's for entrepreneurs. It's for people looking for clients, not just anybody who's just wanting to get over their procrastination, you know, with like making the bed or vacuuming or whatever, right? Top 5 things to do to get your first or next client, and join her in her private Facebook community, Life with Passion Society. And both of those are hyperlinked, and then they can look right there in my bio and see that I'm a business and success coach for high achieving entrepreneurs, right? So all of those things made sense, right? Like anybody can take value away from this, and I hope that they will and do, but I'm saying this is where it's shown up in my life. Like, you can read the article if you want. I talk about being an entrepreneur. I talk about my clients, all those kinds of things. And then at the end, I say, here's how I can help you with the next step for free. So they don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to go to my website and like dink around and go, oh, well, what, you know, maybe I'll do this and maybe, no, it's all right there. So I was ready for this. I was ready for this to go viral, right? And then they also had the link directly to my Facebook page or my Facebook group. They don't have to go to my Facebook page. They don't have to friend request me. Like, it's all right there. Does that make sense? So all of those things happened, and the call to action was aligned in the article, in the story. Now, the other thing that I want to point out is I had submitted this article a while before, and it was getting views, and it was getting, you know, sort of Medium's version of likes, which is called recommends, and it was out there. But at a certain point, because it was there, then it was available for the editors to grab, for the editors to give what they felt was a better title for their audience, for it to start to get this traction and pick up as more people started to see it. So there was a ripple effect that started with me going, what does my audience want to hear? I'm going to show up. I'm going to be consistent. I'd have to look, but I think this was like maybe it was in the teens for the number of articles that I had already written for Medium and for Thrive before this one blew up. Now, one of the things that I think is really important is to decide like what kind of publicity feels good for you, what kind of advertising feels good for you, because there are a lot of different ways to get eyes on your business, right? Facebook Live, YouTube, Instagram, your Facebook page, a Facebook group, your email list, LinkedIn, Twitter. Like, there are so many different ways when you're building an online business to get that publicity that you're looking for. And I'm going to be really honest with you and say that at the beginning of my journey, the only way I knew, because this is how I was taught, the only way I knew to get more eyes on my on Life with Passion was to run Facebook ads. Now, I was moving from a totally different industry. I was actually, ironically, in online marketing for other people, so I was running a lot of Facebook ads. I'm really good at running Facebook ads. And so coming from that background and also then working with my very first mentor coach who had built her business using Facebook ads, that's what I did for a long time. Even though I'm naturally really good at building relationships, I kind of said, you know what, this is what's working. I'm going to invest a lot of money here. Now, because I was also new and I wasn't quite as clear as I could have been on who I was working with, that did not have as high of a return on investment as I would have liked. Like, looking back, and how I work with my clients now is to build their business organically first, test things, and then start to replicate those results with paid advertising, which, you know, there is a time and a place for, but we want to test things organically. So I'm like sharing that, you know, that mistake that I made in hopes that it will help you down the road. And also because I know that now there's such a better way to do it. And yes, it did result in clients. Yes, it did grow my email list. Yes, I also know there are other ways to do it for free, like what we're talking about right here. So I want you to think about, you know, what way you'd like to grow your business for free using free publicity, using any one of these tools plus a million more, which everyone has figured out. There are so many people who figured out how to monetize those. Now, I also was very, very strategic about taking the opportunity to thank Arianna personally and to provide her with value. And to provide her with value, to give her a reason to open my email. I chose a subject line that I knew would get her attention because I knew something about her specifically, because I had read her book, because she had been on my influencers list of people to connect with. And so I took the opportunity not just to go, thank you, thank you, thank you, would you share more of my articles, which probably a lot of people do, but I knew exactly how to follow up with her in a way that provided her with value, not only thanking her, but giving her specifics as to how I was thinking, like what I was thanking her for, and not asking anything in return. Now, I also knew what kind of, how she preferred to be connected with, because every influencer is different. I knew Arianna is really into email. So some influencers are really active on Twitter personally. Like, they're not only sharing stuff, like what she did was sharing my article, but they're also, you know, interacting with fans and going back and forth and having dialogue, and like they're into Twitter. So some of them are like really on their Facebook page, whatever. There are a lot of different ways, or in their groups maybe. There are a lot of different ways to get their attention, but I knew that Arianna was often in her email and often responded, like she had when I got my first article published on the Huffington Post. She personally responded to my pitch over there too. So I thought, okay, I'm going to get her new article or her new email address over at Thrive, and I'm going to follow up in a value-centered way. And I also give a shout out to the publicity strategist, Selena Sue here, because Selena has shown me some awesome ways to connect with influencers on a deeper level beyond what I even already knew. So thank you, Selena, for that. So I sent her an email with a subject line that I knew would get her attention, providing her not only with thank you, but specific thank yous, and with the intention of building the relationship, not asking for something in return. And I got a response. I even told her she didn't need to respond, but I got a response that was a thank you. It was sent from her iPhone. It felt so, so, so good, right? So she had done me a huge favor and had grown my business by hundreds of people. And I wanted to personally thank her in the way she wanted to be reached out to, in the way she interacts. And I've also sent her a gift in the mail that should be arriving soon if you're watching this live. So if you have questions before I go on about how I got my article shared, how this blew up my business with thousands and thousands and thousands of views and likes and people on my website and Facebook page and hundreds of new people, you know, on my email list, in my Facebook group, all those things, I'd love for you to share them in the comments below. I would be happy to personally answer them, because one of the things that I have learned is that this is so much more attainable than we often think when we're getting started in this business or in our own businesses. And, you know, I have never been super intimidated by famous people. I've worked with a lot of really wealthy people and have come to understand, you know, that they are people. And I really am fascinated by people's stories. And so I love finding the commonalities. And I think that's one of the things that you can do when you're trying to think about who you want to connect with or how you want to connect, is look for the commonalities. Like with me, obviously I was so connected to Arianna and her story because although we come from very different backgrounds and have very different approaches in a lot of things, we share being a lost mom. We share that our first baby was stillborn. And she has a quote in Thrive that basically says, I'm summarizing this, it's very paraphrased, that going through the loss of her child, her son, her only son, is the one that she lost, made her realize that we're not here to gather accolades. We're not here to, you know, just accumulate a bunch of riches. We are here to basically take the experiences that we go through in life, such as the loss of a baby, and allow those to whittle away at us until all that's left is who we truly are. That is powerful, right? And I know that I connect with that so much because that's been my experience. You know, that losing Maeve just made me kind of go, look, if I've been through this, I am not worried about what other people think anymore. I'm going to be me, right? And I'm going to be true to who I am and true to my calling and what I believe I'm here to do. Because the worst thing has already happened to me, so what's going to scare me now, right? And that uncovered a deep level of confidence in me. Now, I'm not saying that you have to go through something like that, something like what I went through, something like what Arianna went through in order to discover that. I believe that part of my mission is to help women not have to go through tragedy in order to, you know, reclaim their confidence and grow it and step into who they truly are. But what I am saying is we can use the things that have happened to us and turn that happened for us. So let me recap here. And if you have any questions, live or on the replay, drop them below. I would love to answer these for you. Let me recap here. My article, Why Procrastination is Such a Problem for Highly Capable People and How to Tackle It, was shared by Arianna Huffington on her Facebook page to an audience of almost 1.5 million people, on her Twitter feed to an audience of almost 2.5 million people, combined audience of almost 4 million people, just from those 2 shares. Resulted in, as of the time of this recording, almost 200 new people on my email list, over 100 new people in my Facebook group, Life with Passion Society, some amazing new connections, a ton more awareness. Undoubtedly, I will be having undoubtedly this will result in not only new connections, new colleagues, all of those things, but also clients, undoubtedly, as we move forward, which is so amazing and so exciting, and the result of 2 little shares, right? So there were a lot of things that I did in order to be ready for this opportunity and in order to capitalize on it, right? Because I did not want to do anything to edit the article in any way once it was live. Once it was live, right? And they had made some little edits to it themselves, and I thought the Thrive Global people did, the editors, and I thought, okay, this is how they want it, right? So I had included a call to action at the end of the article. I knew this was fine. I knew this was within their policies. I also wrote it in such a way that it was totally aligned with my with the article itself, so that it wasn't like, here's this article about procrastination. Now learn how Christine overcame, transmuted tragedy into triumph. Like, those two things they don't go together. Do you see what I'm saying? So, but procrastination and how to get your next client, because now you're clear on why you've been procrastinating, what you're going to do about it. Now you're motivated and ready and excited as a result of the article to go get your first or next client. Here's the workbook. Here's the free workbook, right? Oh, and by the way, the amazing timing of this also happened right as I was about to host a big free masterclass training on how to grow your freedom-based business on limited time and resources. And I made sure to invite people who had been joining me as a result of this article. I made sure to invite them to it, resulting in my biggest live training ever. Pretty cool, right? So I included that call to action at the end, which included a link to my free in-depth workbook, which is super valuable. That goes into a 6 email automation that they get every other day. So they're being followed up with. They're getting a ton of value, a ton of resources. They're getting to know me. They're getting help with the implementation. They're getting invited to speak with me personally on the phone. And that is happening in my sleep, right? So all of those people are getting to know me better, getting invited to connect with me more, getting invited to use my resources in my sleep, because it was set up. I created the opt-in. I created a whole aligned automation out of it. It's 6 emails. That's happening. I also included a link to my Facebook group in that little 2-sentence call to action at the end. So people are into Facebook groups, want to join my Facebook group, want to get to know me better, want to check me out. They could just click 1-click, 2-click request to join, right? So all of that was done. I also made sure to comment where anyone who had shared, I made sure to comment on their shares, thank them for sharing, including Arianna, of course. I made sure to retweet and to thank her on Twitter. I followed up anybody who responded to my article on Thrive. I sent a response back, right? I didn't just send this out there and go, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna, go away. I made sure that I was going to connect with as many people as possible, welcome them personally into my Facebook group. Yes, it changed priorities for my business over the last week, right? My assistant Julie and I were like, okay, this happened, right? I had written the article, like I said, weeks before, and then it blew up, and then I watched my stats rise, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of views an hour, and, thousands of people viewing this and reading it and recommending it and sharing it, right? So when that happened, giving ourselves permission to go, cool, this is the priority this week, right? It doesn't have to be this or this like we thought it was going to be. We've been really busy also working on my book proposal, getting that ready to send off to a couple of agents, which if you're watching live is going to be happening today. So exciting to be considered by a couple of agents. And of course, this article getting shared last week helps with my credibility, right? Because it grew my audience. And those are the kinds of things that publishers and agents and stuff look at. So we made sure, even though the content was already written, well, we changed it up, we included it, right? So in that sense, it's like, it's really important to be strategic, and it's also really important to be flexible. It's really important to be strategic, and it's also really important to be flexible. And those are the kinds of things I work with my clients on, because if you have a desire for publicity, but you don't know how to do it, I can help you with that. Like, I can simplify that for you big time, because it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. It's easier than you think, especially when you have somebody who's done it before. So feel free to PM me or email me, info@lifewithpassion, if you want more details on how I might be able to help you do that personally, help you write your personal custom pitch, help you decide exactly which outlets are best for you, because I've tested most of them at this point, the big ones anyway, and where your ideal people are, right? This is another thing I want to point out. I have been writing consistently and publishing consistently because I know that a lot of my ideal clients are readers rather than listeners, rather even a lot of times than video watchers. Now, I definitely have listeners, and that's why I've been on 20 podcasts, and I definitely have watchers, and that is why I do things like this video. But I also know that a ton of my audience are readers like me. So I know I can get in front of them using a platform like Medium, using a publication like Thrive Global, and that they're going to enjoy that. They're going to connect with me there. And then take the next step, right? Then take the next step and get to know me, join my email list, become a member of my Facebook group. So I think that's the strategic point too, is looking at how do you enjoy creating content and getting visible, and where would it be best for you to get in front of your ideal audience, and the meeting of those is where to start. Keep it simple. You do not need to be on all these places at once. I recommend you start with one place. And if Thrive speaks to you, then I recommend that you pitch. And if working with me to help figure out how to pitch is something that's interesting to you, I'd love to help you with that too. These are the things that I did to get my article shared by Arianna Huffington and experience and interact with the results that happen next to maximize them and to keep them going so that they pay dividends for my business, so that people are helped with this thing of procrastination that so many of us deal with. All of those things together have resulted in a huge win for my business, both immediately and setting me up for the long term. And guess what? Also, huge wins for every single one of my clients, because they get visible. I promote them as part of their package of working with me 6 months. I only work with people I'm really excited to help. And so one of the things that I offer is a feature to my Facebook group, to my email list, both of which have grown as a result of this share. And so that means all of my clients are going to reap the benefits of not only me going to the next level in publicity and learning even better how to interact with influencers, but also to have a wider audience, to have their message shared with, to get in front of their ideal clients. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. I'd love to hear any questions, comments, thoughts, anything you'd like to know, share them in the comments. And if I can support you on this, if you want to hear if learning how to be more strategically visible is something that interests you, and you might want to know more how I could help you with that, you can also comment below. You can PM me, or you can email me, info@lifewithpassion.com. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye.